What's up guys, Joey here of Yugatech, and it's that time of the year again. We have OPPO and Vivo battling it out for the top spot in the mid-range market. And for this comparison review, of course we have the F11 Pro going up against the V15 Pro. To set up the stage, here are the specs for both phones side by side. Feel free to pause the video right here if you want to read everything. So to start this off, let's talk about design. While both devices obviously sport almost bezel-less screens and pop-up cameras, there are quite a few differences here. Starting from the aesthetic point of view, both phones look and feel amazing. They're kinda like baby versions of the Vivo Nex and OPPO Find X respectively. They both look a lot better than their predecessors, the V11 and F9. There's just not much else to say other than you guys should see them in person. They're gorgeous looking phones that almost look and feel like flagships. For colors, the F11 Pro has Thunder Black and Aurora Green, while the V15 Pro has Topaz Blue and Coral Red. But when we get to a functional design perspective, things change a little bit. While the V15 Pro does have an in-display fingerprint scanner over the F11 Pro's rear-mounted one, it does suffer from quite a significant rear camera bump. The OPPO F11 Pro has nice curved matte finish sides, making it easier to grip compared to the V15 Pro's glossy sides, though the V15 Pro's volume and power buttons are grouped up together, where the F11 Pro's buttons are separated. Unfortunately, we get micro USB ports for both phones, though we do have headphone jacks. But as we understand, a lot of users prefer that it's on the bottom like it is on the F11 Pro. And on the matter of the position of the pop-up selfie cameras, the F11 Pro's is in the middle, while the V15 Pro's is on the right side when facing you. Right now, I don't see an advantage to either position, though personally I prefer the F11 Pro's middle positioning since it's more natural to look at the center of something as opposed to the side. So for design, each device has their own merits. For me, I'm gonna pick the F11 Pro in terms of aesthetics and looks, but the V15 Pro in terms of function. But you know, at the end of the day, design is very subjective and preferences vary from user to user. Now heading on to display. The F11 Pro has a 6.53-inch IPS screen, while the V15 Pro has a slightly smaller 6.39-inch Super AMOLED screen. Both have a 1080p resolution. While the difference in pixel density is very negligible, there is a definite advantage in quality for the V15 Pro since we do get that Super AMOLED screen. We get nicer colors, definitely deeper blacks, and a generally much brighter screen. However, since OLED-based displays are more prone to screen burn-in, the F11 Pro's IPS screen will last you much longer. Both are very nice looking displays though, and the absence of a notch is amazing for watching videos and playing games. But because of the Super AMOLED display, the Vivo V15 Pro takes the cake on this aspect. Now, let's check out performance. Our OPPO F11 Pro is powered by a MediaTek Helio P70 octa-core chipset, 6GB of RAM, and 64GB of internal storage. While our V15 Pro here is powered by a Snapdragon 675 octa-core chipset, 8GB of RAM, and 128GB of internal storage. Both devices perform similarly, however in our synthetic benchmarks, the V15 Pro outperforms the F11 Pro in Antutu and Geekbench. But it's the other way around in 3D Mark and PC Mark. Nonetheless, both phones are great performers overall and you can't go wrong with either. Multitasking, gaming, no matter what it is, you can expect it to be smooth. Now taking a look at battery, the F11 Pro has a 4000 mAh battery with support for VOOC 3.0 charging, while the V15 Pro has a slightly smaller 3700 mAh battery with dual engine fast charge. Despite having bigger capacity, the F11 Pro got 16 hours and 40 minutes of playback in our video loop test, much less than the V15 Pro's 22 hours and 12 minutes of playback. This is also reflected in day-to-day use, probably due to the Snapdragon 675's greater power efficiency. When it comes to charging though, the F11 Pro's VOOC charging is faster at an hour and a half from empty to full, compared to the V15 Pro's dual engine charging at over 2 hours. So for overall battery life, the V15 Pro takes the cake, but you can't overlook charging, and in that aspect, the F11 Pro is better. Now for software, both phones have Android Pie, of course with their own respective skins. As always, Fun Touch for the Vivo V15 Pro and Color OS for the OPPO F11 Pro. Like design, as far as software skins go, it's a matter of personal preference whether you like one or the other. Both have similar features anyway, but different overall looks and layouts. Before we get to the price, let's check out cameras. So taking a look at the specs on paper, the F11 Pro has a 48 megapixel primary rear camera, accompanied by a 5 megapixel depth camera, and for selfies, a 16 megapixel pop-up camera. On the other hand, the V15 Pro also has a 48 megapixel primary rear camera, 5 megapixel depth camera, as well as a 5 megapixel ultra-wide camera. So at the rear, we have a triple camera setup. The pop-up selfie camera in front is 32 megapixels. For the sake of this comparison, we won't be showing any ultra-wide samples from the V15 Pro since the F11 Pro can't provide its own, but because of this is already an advantage in favor of Vivo. Taking a look at this first set of sample shots, immediately the V15 Pro's AI scene detection goes for a more vivid, super saturated HDR look, while the F11 Pro stays more natural. If we zoomed in, we probably get a similar amount of detail, so this goes down to color. And for that, we pick the F11 Pro for providing a more natural looking shot. Next up in these shots, we get great color and detail from both phones. But the way they handle the exposure is slightly different. The shadows are all over the place in the F11 Pro's shot like it appears in real life, but the V15 Pro is actually able to remedy this and create a more balanced look, and for that, it takes the win here. Now let's check out portrait mode. Both have good subject background separation, though when we were shooting these, the F11 Pro had a really hard time determining the subject. And as you can see, the table is in focus instead of the Merlion. The V15 Pro was able to keep it sharp, though I will say the F11 Pro's background bokeh looks nicer and more natural. Now in these two shots of this plant, we can see that the F11 Pro's shot is more dynamic. It handled the backlight more effectively, so we get the feeling of more dynamic range. The color of the leaves is much more pleasing, and the overall shot looks sharper. Let's take a look at how these phones handle indoor artificial lighting. Right off the bat, the V15 Pro's shot has the advantage here for providing less noise, more detail, better colors, and more dynamic range. Notice the reflection in the TV, which is absent in the F11 Pro's shot. In these shots, we get the same result as the previous one. The V15 Pro just handles low light much better. We get less noise, more detail, better colors, and a more dynamic shot. But when we take a look at both these phones' dedicated night modes, we can really see that the F11 Pro takes some DNA from the R17 Pro. While both shots look pretty good, there's just something about the F11 Pro's shot. It's just more dynamic, it's sharper, and take note of the billboard on the lower right. The camera shake didn't seem to affect the shot like it did with the V15 Pro. And to wrap things up, let's take a look at selfies. With these two shots of Ali, there's an immediate difference in contrast with the V15 Pro having more. The F11 Pro's shot has a softer quality to it, but we do like the skin tones we get from it. And when we get to beauty mode, OPPO is able to provide a more natural looking shot. In the V15 Pro's shot, her skin ends up getting a porcelain-like look, which, don't get me wrong, might be what some people prefer, but for us, we always appreciate it when the AI beauty mode is just right and not super apparent. So to conclude our camera section, both phones are able to provide good shots across a variety of situations, but for the most part, we prefer the V15 Pro's triple rear camera setup and the F11 Pro's front camera. And to conclude this whole comparison, let's discuss price. The OPPO F11 Pro will set you back 18,990 pesos, while you will have to spend around 5k more for the V15 Pro at 23,999 pesos. And that, my friends, is a pretty significant difference in price. So let's see what advantages the V15 Pro actually has over the F11 Pro. We get a Super AMOLED display, we get an additional ultra-wide rear camera, we get more RAM, more storage, we get a micro SD card slot, more power-efficient chipset, an in-display fingerprint scanner, and better quality from the rear cameras. So for 5,000 pesos more, you get all that. Is it actually really worth it? For us, it's a yes. You get all of these plus a flagship caliber design to match. Though for that aspect, we think the F11 Pro's design is much better. There's no doubt that both these devices are pretty good, but in the end, in this comparison review, the V15 Pro makes a better case for itself. So that's it for this video, guys. Now I'm gonna leave the question to you. F11 Pro or V15 Pro? Are you Team OPPO or Team Vivo? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please do drop a like, subscribe to our channel for more content, hit that bell icon so you don't miss any future uploads, and be sure to visit Yugatech.com for the latest tech news and reviews. This has been Joey, and I'll see you guys in the next one.